Imagine the most powerful man in existence. A so-called god who believes he can take anything, even your wife, and walk away without consequence. Now imagine the rage burning inside you when the world calls you the villain for daring to fight back. Today's story is about one mortal who stood up against Zeus himself, and the revenge he unleashed will leave you speechless. If you've ever dreamed of seeing someone abusive finally get what they deserve, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because this is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. The injustice. They say mortals should never defy the gods. But what happens when a god crosses the line first? I was once just a simple man, a husband, a farmer, a warrior when my people needed me. My world revolved around one person, my wife. She wasn't just beautiful. She was my anchor, my safe harbor, the reason I survived the endless battles and chaos around us. And then he came, Zeus, king of the gods, a being who could command storms and split mountains. But his greatest weapon wasn't his lightning. It was his arrogance. He believed everything belonged to him, especially women. One night, while I was away defending our lands, Zeus descended, not in the form of a god, but disguised as a man, and he forced himself upon my wife. She had no choice, no escape. When I returned, she was broken, not just her body, but her spirit, and when her belly began to swell, it was clear whose child she carried. Do you know what the world said? That she was blessed, that our family had been chosen, that I should bow, smile, and be honored. But inside me, something else grew, something darker than grief, a fire that whispered, "This is not a blessing. This is theft. This is violence, and he will pay." The mockery of justice. At first, I sought help. I begged priests and kings, asking how any of this could be just. Do you know what they told me? That's the will of the gods. You should be proud. Resisting him makes you the villain. Me, the victim. Branded as ungrateful, as foolish, as dangerous. I could feel people's eyes on me in the village. Whispers followed me. A man whose wife carried Zeus's child. A man who dared to look angry about it. It was like the whole world had turned upside down, and that's when I realized mortals didn't just fear Zeus's power. They enabled it. They excused it. They worshipped it. And if justice was ever going to be served, it would not come from temples or thrones. It would come from me. The breaking point, the day of the child's birth, was the day I swore my revenge. I looked at the boy. Innocent, yes, but a reminder of the crime against my wife, against me, against our love. That night, I walked into the forest, screaming into the heavens until my throat was raw. Zeus, you think you can take everything from me and walk away? You will learn the price of your arrogance. I swear it. I expected thunder. I expected lightning to strike me dead, but the sky stayed silent. And that silence felt like permission. How do you fight a god? With strength. Impossible. With armies. Futile. But with cunning. With patience. That was mortal territory. I began to study. I listened to the old myths, the stories of mortals who had tricked the gods. Prometheus, who stole fire. Sisyphus, who cheated death. Each tale showed me a truth. Gods could be deceived. Gods could be hurt. So I built my revenge like a hunter builds a trap, step by step, quietly, with bait too tempting for even Zeus to ignore. Zeus's weakness was no secret. Desire. He could never resist the beauty of a mortal woman. And so, I created the illusion of one. I convinced a sculptor friend to carve the most lifelike statue he had ever made. A woman of impossible beauty, draped in robes, her eyes downcast in false modesty. Then, with herbs and incantations, whispered by an old seer, we filled the temple with an aura of divine allure. Whispers spread, rumors of a mortal maiden untouched by man, hidden away, more radiant than the dawn. And, like a moth to flame, Zeus came. That night, thunderclouds rolled over the hills as Zeus descended. He found the temple exactly as I planned. Quiet, moonlit, with the statue waiting like prey. I watched from the shadows, heart pounding like war drums. He approached. He touched the statue's cheek, his arrogance so blinding, he didn't even consider it might be a trick. And when his hand lingered, when his guard dropped completely, that's when it happened. Chains. Forged not of iron, but of celestial metal. Stolen fragments of fallen stars, bound with curses whispered by the seer. They lashed around him, burning his skin, anchoring him to the earth. For the first time in his eternal life, Zeus staggered. I stepped into the light. My heart should have been trembling, but it wasn't. For the first time since that night, with my wife, I felt steady. Do you remember me? I asked. He sneered, lightning crackling faintly in his palm. But the chains tightened, and the spark died in his hand. His eyes, once smug, untouchable, flashed with something I had never expected. Fear. You think you can defy me, mortal? He thundered. I don't think, I said. I know. I didn't kill him. No, that would have been too merciful. Instead, I gave him what he had given me. Humiliation. Exposure. I dragged him, bound and weakened, into the heart of the village. People gasped, dropped to their knees. This, I shouted, is your God. This is the one who takes what he wants, who calls his crimes blessings, who makes victims into villains. Gasps, turned into murmurs, murmurs into outrage. For once, the people didn't see a God. They saw a predator caught in his own trap. And as the chains tightened, as the crowd's disgust grew louder, Zeus roared in rage. Not because of pain, but because for the first time in eternity, he had been made small. Finally, when his humiliation was complete, I released him, not out of mercy, but to prove a point. Remember this, I told him. You can take everything from me, but I can still take your pride. And pride, Zeus, is the only thing you truly worship. With a scream of fury, he vanished into the storm. But he never returned to my village, never touched my family again. The revenge wasn't about killing a god. It was about balance, about showing that even the mighty can bleed, that justice can come from the most unlikely hands. And as I watched Zeus disappear into the clouds, powerless and humiliated, I finally felt it. Peace. Maybe mortals can't destroy gods, but we can remind them, remind everyone, that power doesn't make you untouchable. Justice has a way of finding those who believe they're above it. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and drop a comment. What's the most satisfying act of revenge you've ever heard of? And of course, subscribe for more stories that prove no tyrant, god or mortal, is ever truly safe.